Warning, the following podcast contains graphic language that Nancy Reagan and Tipper Gore deemed inappropriate in a civilized society.
We're here to talk about the political environment and kind of what it means. Some of us are going to have our own views. These are our private views. Every person has a bias, and hopefully you'll know that we wear our bias on our sleeves. That way you don't feel like we're trying to deceive you in any way.
It's about time to get with the program.
Yeah, I was trying to get the open office hour. I was really hoping to talk to you because I enjoy what you have to say. But unfortunately, I work and you do it during work hours. So I was kind of hoping that maybe you would be open to a town hall within, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock range. So people can show up, get off work.
Have you gone on some of our, so some of the earlier ones we did do. We have to obviously do a wide range of times because there are people that can't. Have you done any of the teletown halls also?
I've done some of the teletown halls, and I join the ones that Mike Lee does as well. Okay. And so I like to at least be updated to that, and I appreciate at least something.
We're going to continue to do them. We continue to do them at different times, and one of the things that really works for us is when we do the open office hours, especially in the different counties, then at least the people that live in those counties can get access and get time.
Can we hope for a Festivus miracle and get one before Christmas?
Before Christmas?
No. Seinfeld?
Yeah, we'll continue to do them. We'll do it. We'll make sure.
But later, so the working class, the working class people are your hope. Like the working class people are the ones who you're hoping. So I'm hoping we can get more working class people that show up and like, yeah, woo.
The last open office hours. That was the first time we did it in the office. That was the first time.
Sure, awesome.
So
well,
I'll continue to do it.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for showing up. I appreciate it.
We'll continue to do that.
Awesome.
We want it to be nice and civil and have good dialogue.
No, I appreciate that, and it's nice. I even like panel discussions, so you can kind of unpack an idea, and so that would be awesome.
Yeah, because I get a lot of my ideas from people.
Well, and it's kind of a Socratic dialogue.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have maybe a moderator, and I'm really looking forward to you licking Ben McAdams. I don't think that. I think Ben's like boring. I feel like Ben McAdams is the typical Democratic pick. Like, how do we lose an election? We've got an obviously vibrant rising star in the Republican Party, and how do we get somebody who utterly fails to measure up? And it's really interesting to me. And so you got a lot going for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you.
You know what?
Hey, so this is Josh Cameron with Progressive Rampage. Anyway, I'm here with a gentleman with CD4 Coalition. We're at a rally here for Mia Love and Mitt Romney. And he came over, he saw me, we're acquainted online on Facebook. And I think we've met each other at other events as far as through like voting and stuff and caucus events. Nice. So he knows my folks. But he was telling me he used to be a former Republican and actually had a selfie that he was quite proud of with himself and Ted Cruz. Kind of hoping he can kind of unpack a little bit of what motivated him to, one, be a Republican in the first place and kind of what disenchanted him. Chris, take it away.
Well, started following politics September 11th, 2001. I remember that day vividly. I was sweeping the parking lot at a Wendy's that morning. Listening to my headphones, got the news. That afternoon when I got off, went to my mom's house, watched what had happened. Got swept up in all of the patriotism. George Bush was president at the time. Patriot Act, go get the guys, shock and awe, all that. Also, for me, for part of the change, that's how I was. I was raised somewhat conservative. And so it was Republican. I grew up in California, but we moved to Utah when I was a young teenager. But for me, the change happened over the course of a couple of years, and it started a couple of years ago. And a bit of it started with religion, wanting to be a better member of my church and doing research, finding out what really was. I wanted a stronger testimony. I wanted to be able to defend against arguments, and so you do opposition research, and they convinced me.
And the opposition research just made too much sense, huh?
Yeah, well, it just made sense, I'm a big fan of science. I'm a huge fan of Carl Sagan, Cosmos, Neil deGrasse Tyson. And so I've got this love for the astronomy, stars, evidence, stuff that can be proven, that can be shown, evolution, evolutionary biology, the fossil record, geology, everything points to one thing and backs it up. Whereas religion says, oh, no, you have to have faith. And no, faith is a dishonest thing. And so having questioned all of that and realizing a lot of my political beliefs were religious-based, and I understand there's religious people on both sides of the aisle, this is just me, I decided to unpack my political beliefs, take them one by one. Okay, I believe this, but this political ideology because of this religious background. But if I take out that religious background, can I still support this? And a lot of it fell apart. Then you see a lot of the science denial, the denial of climate change, the way they treat the environment.
Well, one of the amazing things about science is that science acts to prove itself wrong,
yes,
while faith acts to prove itself right. And so I'd rather have answers that can't, or I'd rather have questions that can't be answered than answers that can't be questioned, because I need to strive. No, I'd rather have questions that can't be answered than answers that can't be questioned. And so I also love Neil deGrasse Tyson and Carl Sagan for the same reason. I love that Neil doesn't really like the identity. Also, he acts in very atheist ways, but he doesn't necessarily take the demeanor of atheism, or take the moniker rather.
Yeah, same with Carl. They didn't want to be defined by that term. They just want to put it out there. They want science to be apolitical, and that's something that I believe in. I believe in what can be shown to me. And so, I turned liberal. I took political tests for years and years. I used to be on the right. I started drifting to the left. Now I'm left of center.
So would you say that it was your faith, your lack of faith, or as REM would say, losing my religion is what drug you to the left, or were you actually dragging yourself to the left first, and that's maybe what started unraveling that ball of yarn?
I think questioning the religion and realizing that I'm not afraid to question my own beliefs allowed me to question my politics and my reasoning for my politics. And when I realized that they just didn't hold up anymore, I look at the way the gay community is treated. My own father was gay. He died of AIDS in the early 90s. So that's something that, when I went to Pride Fest this year, I went for my dad. It's the first time I went, and I was there for him because he couldn't go. I see the way that NFL players are demonized by the right for practicing their freedom of speech. It's a right that they have. They're protesting not the flag, not the anthem. They're protesting the civil rights that are being violated against a certain group of people.
So I love that idea, and I think that you're right. And lately I've been really inspired by Henry Rollins, and just listen to some of the stuff that Henry Rollins does. And this guy, so he was, if you don't know who Henry Rollins is, he was the lead singer for Black Flag for a while. Does a lot of punk, and he just talks about how he hits the ground running. He's a guy who came from minimum wage. He's just a working class dude who basically understands that he doesn't have the aptitude to just be awesome. So that means that he has to work 2 times harder, which means that he needs to expect that just to be on his feet all the time. And I love his work ethic and his motivations. And I just kind of lost my train of thought. What did you say just last? I'm sorry.
I was talking about the NFL, the players, the civil rights that they're fighting for. They're making their stand, so to say, for those that can't anymore.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. And so that realigned my train of thought. So I was at work, and I work with an awesome industrial hygienist. I love this guy to death. He's very right-wing, and I brought up Colin Kaepernick because I like to push boundaries, and it's hard for me not to. And so he immediately turned to me and said how much of it was a disrespect of veterans and the flag. And I said, that's really funny, because I think in this car right now, I'm the only veteran, and yet I don't feel disrespected. I feel that the freedom of speech is far more important and the First Amendment is far more important than the Second, which is why they put it first. And while the Second Amendment, I think, is an important amendment that we need to discuss, I would also like to, full disclosure, like to put some regulations on guns, but we need to be able to have a marketplace of ideas, and any libertarian, I think, can jump on board with that idea.
I think people that like to talk about the Second Amendment should read up on Shays' Rebellion and what the Second Amendment was originally written for. Because if it had been about Lexington and Concord, then it would have been in the Articles of Confederation, but it wasn't. And again, with Kaepernick and the veterans, he spoke with veterans before he started doing this. He wanted to make sure he wasn't offending them. Well, I've read that before, you know.
Yeah, so he was actually, the guy was a former Special Forces soldier who actually, I think, was on maybe second string for Seattle Seahawks. I want to say he's about a 40-year-old guy, and he was the one. He was a white dude, Special Forces, and said that praying is actually a respectful thing. If you thought about praying instead of sitting down, or kneeling, because kneeling is kind of a sign of prayer. And if you thought about kneeling instead of sitting down, he said that's a great idea. So he tried to be as respectful to a veteran, and a Special Forces veteran that typically lives about 6 months out of 12 months in a foreign country, and that's a hard reality to live. So he respected he respected a real guy, not a bunch of losers who were looking for stolen valor. And you know, it's fascinating to hear that your scientific, kind of your scientific literacy, as well as just your honesty to yourself, to be able to question your ideas. Why is it that I have the best idea? Maybe I don't. Perhaps I should unpack that, and perhaps I should be open to criticism. I may not like it. I think Winston Churchill was quoted saying something along the lines of, criticism is a necessary thing. It serves the same function as pain in the body. It calls attention to basically something irregular or something bad that you need to fix. And so I like that idea. And we're not always going to agree with it, whether that be correct criticism or incorrect. But we should be open to it. And yeah, man, hey, it's been a lot of fun. I appreciate the interview, man, and thanks for coming over and saying hi. Go ahead and are you also part of the like a precinct chair, part of the local government? So go ahead and give a shout out to any sort, or plug your offices, as well as anyone who wants to follow you on Twitter if they happen to hear this interview, so that way they can figure out who Chris Bell really is.
All right, well, it's good seeing you again, Josh. So yeah, like I said, Chris Bell, I'm on Facebook under that name. You can find me at Utah's CD4 Coalition on Facebook. We have a Twitter page as well. My own personal Twitter is at ChrisBell2016. I am precinct chair for West Valley City 71. So House District 34, Karen Kwan, Senate District 5, Karen Main, CD4, Ben McAdams.
Interesting, because I'm the precinct chair for 72, so we're precinct neighbors. What? Fist bump, boom. All right, man. Well, it's been a pleasure. Well, sweet, dude.
I just asking you, please. Let's not.
I didn't even get a warning.
I know. Well, let's
so
just go,
they
please.
said that she wants human lives, protecting human lives. I prefer not to. I'd like to stay here. She's my representative. This is freedom of speech, my friend.
I need you to come.
This is freedom of speech. This is First Amendment. What if I had a gun? You guys would support First Amendment. Abolish ICE! Abolish ICE! Abolish ICE! So I'm getting charges pressed against me because I used my First Amendment freedom of speech. I was never warned that I would have charges pushed against me. Officer Jay Wilson is taking me to his car. The security for I don't know if it's the show barn or Mia Love's security, are saying that they want to press charges because they asked me to leave the premises because I was flying an American flag. They are embarrassed with the American flag, the same way that Betsy DeVos is, because she flies a flag that's not even of this country, robbing Ohio alone of $2 million. These are Republicans for us. Thanks. And so I raised my voice. I said, abolish ICE. They said that she stands for saving babies. Let's stand for saving babies in cages. And so I was yelling. Somebody was screaming in my ear. Apparently it's okay to be paid to scream, but if I yell to try to reach my representatives and try to save babies from cages, then I get booted off the premises. That is an unfortunate reality in this proto-fascist America, that I spent 4 years of my life as a veteran, or rather 4 years of my life as a soldier, now a combat vet, and I can't even get my representative to have a town hall. I even asked her if she'd have a town hall. It's been over 1,000 days since she's had a real town hall. And so, yeah, it's sad. I really wish that we could get money out of politics. And for using my freedom of speech I'm getting charges pressed against me. So I guess I will reach out to my ACLU contacts to help me fight this, and we'll see how things go from there. Thanks for listening.
I'm going to be upfront and very honest with you, sir, that I do not share your political view. But we can always agree to yell and call each other names, but let's try civility first. And let's see if we can, maybe you can expand my view on this and I can expand your view on that. That's how this shit is supposed to work.
Yeah, right. That's discourse. That
right.
was the whole concept of the fucking country. Yeah.
Right. And we've gotten too far to the screaming, yelling, I'm mad, I'm angry. Yes, we're all mad, we're all angry. But if we all scream and yell, right, no one's going to hear shit. And that's why I said right now it's that Trump for the last 2 years. It's been Trump screaming and yelling and saying outrageous shit. Well, now everyone screams and yells and says outrageous shit. He needs to be the flip of that to get people to sit there and go, well, that guy's screaming about this and that guy's screaming about that. And oh, wait, look, there's a guy with holding a flag. He's got a nice smile on his face and he's waving at me. Oh, I wonder what he has to say. Because we know the guy with the Black Lives Matter, he's screaming white this and racist that and this, that. And then you got the Westboro Baptist wannabe guys over here talking about women don't deserve rights and abortion is bad. We're all going to hell. And there's Josh right in the middle, calmly just waving at someone and smiling, going, hey, come have a conversation with me. The thing is we're not sitting down, we're not seated in the news, the fake media, or anything. It's like everyone is standing up and screaming for their rights where no one is trying to take their rights, but they're going to scream about them anyway. The whole thing going on with Facebook and all of that other stuff, they are well within their rights. Their terms and... What?
Jesse.
What?
We're live!
Oh, right! Good.
Hey, everybody.
Conversation.
I am pleased to see you again, sir, Mr. Chaney.
Yeah, thank you. It's nice to be back. Things have kind of leveled off, so I'm not a complete sociopath or a psychopath.
Deep in the South with the other psychopaths.
Pretty much. I'm so far in the South, it's not even funny anymore.
Jeez.
Really not.
With you as always, Chris Guru up here in the North, and Mr. Cameron on location. He recently went to a Republican rally on behalf of... He also doubles as he's the spokesperson for Our Voice USA. That's a nonprofit 501c3 organization that is not partisan, just focused on the process. And he is on this podcast with me. And on the podcast, we are not representing that organization. I hope everybody out there can fucking figure that out.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he was on location for Our Voice in order to talk to some people that were on the right. It was a Republican a rally for Mia Love. And he ultimately was told that he couldn't wave his American flag there, and he was told that he couldn't question anybody and ask them their opinions, even though he's just trying to show them this app that lets them contact their representatives and run for office. And I don't know. So yeah, Jesse, what were you were basically saying that the corporation has every right to do that, but in a situation, I don't know, like it seems ambiguous to me because it was a bunch of public figures. It was people that represent him, and yet he's not allowed to have his freedom of speech in those areas because he had to purchase a ticket. And that kind of, gave him a terms of service he had to abide by again?
Well, in and of itself, yes. I mean, it's not they are public figures, but they're not in a public forum.
Yeah.
If it was a public forum, he wouldn't have to buy a ticket. Right? So it's no different than if you went to the Monsters of Metal concert, right? You're an adult. Let's say they're having it in Maine, and you're an adult. You can drink, you can smoke, you can do whatever the fuck you want to do as an adult in public. But the minute you buy that ticket and pass through those gates, they can turn around and say, okay, there's no alcohol, there's no smoking, there's no weed, there's no foul language. And if you're caught doing any of those things, we're going to kick you out. And they're well within their legal rights to do so.
That sounds fair to me. But the problem I think that a lot of us have is that they're using that same situation, except it's not a death metal band. It's a public figure. It's a person who you're supposed to... I would bet any amount of money that they originally went to town squares to speak to the people and to give speeches and to garner support for their candidacy. And now they sell tickets and have private events that seem to be public because anyone can buy a ticket, and the tickets are probably priced in some range, not like the DNC selling 10,000 plus for dinner. But Like they're going onto the property to go and listen to this person, and they're being held accountable for their speech based on rules set by a private corporation, not the country that they live in, that these people are supposed to go and work for and represent. And so, yeah, I see a big problem. It's like they found a loophole to be able to stifle free speech.
Yeah, but the corporations have, throughout the history of our country, have found loopholes to do what they want to do, even legally.
Yeah, right.
That's not necessarily circumvent. I mean, I'm listening to, shout out to the Dollop. It's that history podcast. It's hilarious. But I'm listening to one now, and they're talking about prison labor that was used in Tennessee for coal after the Civil War. Now, technically in Tennessee, these corporations were breaking the law by using prison labor over strikers.
Yeah.
So all they did is they went through and they went to, these corporations, these money men went and basically got the representatives of the government to basically write them a special law that said that they could break the law. And it went through. I mean, that is the true history of our country. It's not democracy, it's money.
That is a shame, Jesse.
I'm sorry, but it's true. We do not run a democracy anymore. We run a corporate-funded or corporate-sponsored circle jerk, which is exactly what it is. I'm sorry. I've been doing a lot of listening since we've talked last to a bunch of different ideas and everything else. Like we were talking to we're going to be talking about the whole Alex Jones thing. And I'm going to throw possibly a theory out there that maybe not a lot of people are stopped to think about. But this being is how are we 100% sure that this is not a fucking hoax, or this is not a fucking a marketing stunt? Kind of. I mean, think about it. Alex Jones, yes, everyone can say whatever the hell they want. As an adult, I mean, when I was a kid growing up, I didn't like a TV show, I turned the channel. I didn't like a radio program, I turned it off. I didn't stand there and scream that I'm offended or I don't like this, you guys have to change. But that is the mentality nowadays, is if you don't like what I say and you're going to protest me, I'm going to be the first to tell you to go fuck yourself. I will say what I want, when I want, how I want. Now, if I'm obviously going to be, now this is going into what we were talking. Now, if I'm on, the local access television here in, where we're at, and I'm going to have Jesse's fucking, access show on how to paint and cuss like a pirate, I am now subjected to what? The FCC rules and regulations for television broadcast, correct?
Yes, if it's on television, that's correct.
Exactly. But even though that is going to negatively affect my ability to have free speech. And that's what no one quite puts those two together.
Well, we're all well aware that the law exists, but we have to remember that very thing is the thing that we all fight, or a lot of us fight against. Just because we haven't won yet doesn't mean that, that must mean that they're right and we're wrong.
Oh, it has nothing to do with right or wrong. I don't agree with
it.
It has to do.
I'm aware of its existence, though.
But it has to do with, if you're playing with someone else's toys, they get to make the rules. And unfortunately, public access should be exempt from all FCC regulations, because the FCC is nothing but moral police. The guy who started the FCC was a right-wing Baptist minister.
Yep.
So you can't tell me he's not coming in and writing rules on conduct and what is acceptable, is not acceptable, based on the majority of what everyone has agreed to. He's doing it from a religious viewpoint of his own. And he's enforcing those laws across the majority, even though most people don't give a shit. Why is it okay for me to show a guy get his brain shot out on public television in a movie or something, but no, you show a nipple, you're going to get fined. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally know what you mean. But let me give you an example of Alex Jones's speech here real quick. Hold on, see if this works. This guy is taken seriously by people, and I just don't understand why.
Yeah, but I live across the street from a mental institution. It's a church.
President Trump sucking a ding-dong.
That was
I never sucked any ding-dongs. But I'll tell you, if they were going to blackmail me to start World War III about one, I'd say, hey, I sucked a golf ball through a freaking garden hose.
Do you hear this asshole? He's just talking about nonsense. The things that come out of his mouth, talking about how ultimately the reason that was given for taking him off of these spaces was that he was saying that Sandy Hook was a false flag. that it didn't actually happen. And then he went out and was suggesting that the parents are all lying and that there are like evil lizards involved in all of this, and this is actually a giant conspiracy, and people out there have to defend themselves against stuff like this. And somebody misconstrued everything he said, went out and started harassing these people. And now there's lawsuits and stuff. And what I'm saying is that he's a douchebag that talks about sucking ding-dongs. And they're saying that his speech is dangerous to public discourse. Like, they're saying that he shouldn't be carried on these different platforms and that he has to just go straight out of his own website, which I'm sure GoDaddy probably already kicked him out too, and he had to go somewhere else. But he's just a shitty entertainer. He's not a revolutionary that's trying to overthrow the government. So why are they treating him like this?
This is now okay. So this goes into my what I really want to talk about is you got to remember he got stuck in court doing what Fox News had to do. He had to say in open court under oath, in front of a judge that, hey, this is a character I play. It's a persona. It's not real. Otherwise, his ex-wife was going to get the kids because she was putting out there, like you said, this guy's unfucking hinged. He believes in lizard people and that Hillary Clinton eats babies and that, he believes all this wacky shit. So he had to go in open court and tell a judge, look, I know the stuff that you hear me say is outrageous shit, but honestly, sir, I'm playing a character. But look at me for my merits. It's no different. It's like Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan won his lawsuit against, who was it? Grouper?
Well, was that the thing about his
sex tape?
Sex tape and his penis size or something, right?
Right. Because he was able
because he was screaming curse words. That's what it was.
No. It was a sex tape. And the reason is because he got a federal judge in Florida to sit here and say that he can distinguish and at any point in time switch between his persona as Hulk Hogan or as his real human form.
I honestly don't have a problem with that concept.
No. But at the same time, that's the gist of it. There's a really good documentary on that, and it's absolute horseshit.
Yeah.
When you are in public dressed as Hulk Hogan in a fucking ring, you're Hulk Hogan.
Right.
When someone's got videotape of you as Terry talking about your 10-inch penis, and you bang your best friend's quote unquote best friend's wife, and he films it, and someone steals that tape and puts it out there, you can't sue the people who put it out. I mean, that is because his thing was that was not Hulk Hogan that did that. That was me, Terry, and that was a private moment. You invaded my privacy as a person.
Once you're a public figure, you're a public figure.
Pretty much. You know what I mean? And
even
now
if you have a persona for public and a yourself for private, if people, I don't know, that is kind of that's a pretty murky area there. That's not black and white.
No, it's instantaneous. It's the problem with our culture is fame. You look at Leonardo DiCaprio. He gets paid for a living to lie and pretend. That would be like them sending him in front of a federal judge because he killed that bear in that movie. You know what I mean? He killed that bear, and that's wrong, and he should be up on charges for it. People are gonna be like, "You're retarded. It was a movie. It was fake."
Yeah.
You just happen to know that he plays all these characters, actors, famous people. I mean, they're good at pretend. And yet we bring them, we give them great, all this great status, and they're super famous, and they're, that's movie stars. Same thing with athletes. Same thing with anything where you can generate fame. All fame is a way to sucker you in to buy, X amount of albums, or buy this potato chip because Hulk Hogan likes to shove it up his ass. And I only got one chip to choose to shove up my ass. It's Pringles. Can it all. You know what I mean?
They're like capitalism representatives.
Exactly. They are the human face of capitalism.
Right.
And people use them.
You could have, you never will, but you could have, and check it out. This is great. Yeah, right.
Right. And that's all it is. I mean, and they've been doing this for, the last 200 years. You get people to endorse something. A lot of people don't understand is it's attaching something to a person to elicit a response out of you. My favorite actor is endorsing this shitty fucking sugary beverage, but I'm going to use it because I really like that guy. For all I know, a perfect example is Kevin Hart. You see him all over the place now. He's a funny guy. He's got good movies. He's doing tons of endorsements, but I don't know the guy personally, and he might be just an absolute fucking douchebag.
He could be a horror show. I mean, but whenever things come out, what was it? was it Seventh Heaven? That there was some TV show that had a father on there that turned out to be like a major pedophile.
A pedophile and a rapist, yes.
And a rapist. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But everybody revered him as the Reverend on that show that was such a nice and kind dude. And I never watched that show, but I used to see him on other stuff. I don't know. And you would never expect that.
But here's where the problem lies. This is the absolute problem, is fame makes you retarded. Not the people, not the people that are famous, but society in general. Okay? So he played a reverend on TV. That has nothing to do with the fact that he likes to diddle little children.
Right.
And for you to sit here and stand up and say that, oh, I never would have thought this guy, I mean, he plays a reverend, he does this, he's a great actor. Look at Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey's a phenomenal actor. Kevin Spacey, as a man, likes to touch little boys. That's what I've been told.
He likes to talk. He likes to talk young men into sex for sure.
Okay, wait now, but not defending that. I like to throw this out there so people can actually start tying all of this shit together. But every fucking media campaign, whether it's for women or men, they use young sex to sell. Makeup companies. Explain to me how mascara companies can even run ads. Have you ever heard of the mascara disclaimer?
The mascara disclaimer? What the hell is that, Jess?
The next time you watch, I don't know, fucking whatever mascara company's coming out, whether it's a makeup commercial, any of them.
What is it like? Don't poke yourself in the eye or something like that?
Nope. You'll read that little super fine print and you pause it if you've got it on your DVR. And it says in that disclaimer, all results of our product have been enhanced by false, fake eyelash extensions. And yet people still buy it. It says right there, fine print. But it says in fine print. You know what I mean? But realistically, they've already said our product is shit and we use, special camera angles and all this other stuff to make it look better. So you think this shit's going to work on you, even though you don't have the same fucking thing that we're doing this too.
That reminds me of something I think either Mickey D's or Burger King had to go through where they had to admit that the stuff they were showing on the screen was actually a cold, like perfectly prepared burger, but it's not really a burger. Like the cheese was fake and the meat was like painted. And they have this stuff that's like you use in commercials to make it look like steam's rising up from behind it or within it. Right. And somebody got pissed off about that because they kept posting photographs, right, of the two different versions, what they saw on TV. And so they now have representation written in the teeny tiniest little bit of print right underneath that picture of a smoldering burger that you're about to go buy it.
Exactly. Now, the reason I bring that up is a simple fact is, when it comes to celebrities, whether it's movies, television, music, political, it doesn't matter. The thing that you are seeing is not real. It's not real.
The disclaimer is my argument. Like, why? I mean, now do we have to go to the point where people like Alex Jones would need to have a disclaimer at the beginning of his show that says, I mean, we have a disclaimer on this podcast, right? I shortened it up recently because I thought it was a little bit too long-winded, but it basically establishes the fact that we have our own opinions and that you can't hold other things that we're a part of accountable for what we say on this one thing.
Right.
And I you know what? In a perfect world, I wouldn't have to fucking say that. People could just assume that, right?
But here's my question. Why did you put that disclaimer on there?
Fear.
Right. Now, see, that's the thing that gets me is everything goes back to what we were talking about at the very beginning. Everything in our country and in our society revolves around money. So my Alex Jones thing is I don't understand. He does not have the political juice to warrant being banned. He does not have the political juice to warrant YouTube kicking him off. Why would YouTube kick someone off who's got 2.3 million viewers looking at his stupid shit?
He drew so much advertising money for them and for iTunes. You know what I mean?
Right. So here's
no matter how much he sucks or whatever. I don't even know him personally. His character was dirtbag. That is his character. It was like watching Darth Vader every day, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, he's out there. I mean, but the thing is if you throw enough shit against the wall, some of it's going to stick. I mean, he did, expose Bohemian Grove. He did all this other stuff. But even then, a lot of that stuff I don't buy. And it's one of those things where everyone needs to get this in their fucking head. Just because it's not on your TV screen, the shit that people are putting out for the mass consumption of consumers is a lie and it's bullshit.
99%.
Whether you are a TV actor for Disney, bullshit. Whether you're selling someone a fucking car, it's bullshit.
I'm going to go ahead out on a limb here and just announce to the audience, my name is not really Billy Slick.
No.
Just so you know, my name is Christopher Garu.
Well, my porn name for Mexico was Senior Tongue Depressor, but I mean, you know what I mean?
Dance under the name of Sirloin with a chef hat.
Sirloin, there you go. But I mean, but then again, like you said, you put that disclaimer up because the knee-jerk reaction of millennials and a lot of people who don't stop to think about things get that knee-jerk reaction to just respond. So this is a very, very, very unpopular idea. I get it. But we, the people of this society, needs to stop being Pavlov's little fucking dog and drooling and screaming and protesting and everything else just because someone rings a fucking bell. For as much as everyone is up in arms about this or that, they're ignoring things that are really, really important in our society.
You got that right.
But they're being triggered. They're being triggered by Alex Jones being banned, and now everyone's like, "How dare they?" And but it's a slight, and it's a smart little con. He doesn't have the juice, or he said something about the billionaires who fucking own this shit that pissed them off. Those are the only two concepts, right? I got a third concept with the simple fact that this is
he got one right, or he's doing this to get more viewership.
It's actually, to get more viewership.
Like 30% or something, I think.
Yeah, not only that, everyone's talking about all the people that banned him.
And all of us who have
Twitter.
never even given him a second fucking thought are talking about it. Yeah,
exactly. And now that's the thing. So it's either a cleverly placed ruse to, fuck, for all I know, YouTube went to him and said, look, let's do this little thing where we're going to generate a ton of traffic to our sites and we're going to generate a ton of traffic to your site, and it's wrestling. We're going to make you the bad guy, and we're going to ban you, saying you can't be on our platform anymore. And then fucking, of course, Zuckerberg's probably thinking, well, wait a minute. I need a couple more zeros added to my bank account, and then maybe my wife will give me a hand job. So we'll do the same. LinkedIn and all this other shit, they all did it. But realistically, it makes no sense. Because, yes, he says outrageous shit, but a lot of people say outrageous shit. I mean, it's, they're like, well, he violated our terms and service agreements. Right, but in that terms and services that I've read, it does not say that you must enforce those. It says you can and shall.
At their own discretion.
Correct.
Yeah. Whenever they feel
so they
like
had no problem with them last year.
Because they made a lot of money, and they had no problem with them until they got to a point where there was a lawsuit that might drag their name through it. I think that's what happened.
No, they cannot be held responsible because of the federal law.
But it's still going to be mentioned. If he went down for anybody, like let's say somebody died because of what he said about Sandy Hook, and he went down, they would at least have a legal thing that says, I watched on YouTube Alex Jones say this, and that encouraged me to do that. And it's just adjacent to it. I wonder if that's the thing. It's not like they're being implicated, because they can't be, but that they're adjacent to it and it's bad publicity.
Oh, okay. It's YouTube who puts up the stupidest, most awesome videos ever, or that puts up, mindless ranting, or the most popular thing for a kid is unboxing fucking websites. I mean, okay.
Right.
But here's my question. What happened to Facebook when that woman killed herself? Did they get shut down?
I would say they probably had an increase in...
Oh, okay. What about when Facebook used their programming to FaceTime beating the 4 white kids, or the 4 black kids that beat the white mental kid?
Yeah.
Did Facebook get shut down?
That made them more popular.
Oh, did Facebook get shut down when that woman FaceTimed and showed in real time when the police officer shot her black husband for being a legal, lawful person who was allowed to carry a fucking firearm? Did they get shut down? Did that woman sue Facebook?
Nope.
Oh, did the police shut down Facebook because they were like, hey, you can't show that stuff. That shows an officer breaking the law.
No, but I can say that on several different occasions, Facebook adjusted their algorithm based on some of these events happening so that the posts don't show up into feeds before they go through a review process. And they also skewed their algorithm to start culling posts that involve words that they suggest are going to incite argument or riot, or are going against the current narrative for the government.
Right.
And this isn't the ramblings of a psychopath. These are things that they've already admitted to. They brought it up in Congress when he had to go talk to them, before Uncle Creepy Joe rubbed his shoulders. But I'm just saying, they just got more popular. They didn't get sued. They're not liable for any of it. And with that, we're going to have to go ahead and take a break. But when we come back, we'll continue this discussion. And I want to talk about the Neo Town Square. Be right back, folks. And the great chance and opportunity here to speak to Cori Chaney of Our Voice USA, and also incidentally the wife of Jesse Chaney, one of my co-hosts here on the Progressive Rampage. Cori, how are you doing today?
Hi, Chris. I am doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing okay. In the middle of producing a podcast with your hubby. Your hubby there, Mr. Jesse. I guess let me just roll out with the first question. How do you handle a guy like that?
I've learned that you just pick your battles. I think, and it's funny, I get that question a lot, and in so many ways. It's not even a fight, by the way. I mean, it's he's just a big, tough, loud, boisterous guy. Like, you must be a really strong woman. Yeah, and you know what? And that's where I was going with it, in the sense that we are so opposite of each other. Like, he is a big guy, he is blunt, he is boisterous, and I'm the opposite. You know, sometimes I can be shy and timid until I meet, until I get to know people, and then my comfort zone is like thrown right out the window. But it works. You know what I mean? Like, we are each other's best friend. We tell each other everything. We're open. We do everything together. But personality-wise, we are extreme opposites, except for politics. We relate really well in regards to politics.
That could be the glue that binds. I like that. I like that. Well, so I happen to know that you volunteer on the board of directors, and I don't even like calling it except the fact that we don't get paid. But you're on the board of directors with me on Our Voice USA, a nonprofit 501c3. Recently just got that.
Yay!
That is excited. Nonpartisan as well. And could you briefly describe your rough day-to-day as one of the board of directors?
I do a lot of things, actually, in regards to being a neutral voice with the board of directors. I do a lot of marketing. I do a lot of the advertising. I try to do my best to spread the word, but I do a lot of supporting in-house to help nurture everybody. I'm a mom of 3, and especially a mom of twins, and I've learned to mediate. Not that there's any infighting. We actually get along really, really well as a whole. But with any organization or any group, there's always these little things that not everybody always see eye to eye. And I like to be the person to be able to cast that neutral stance, to have everybody look on both sides of the coin.
Folks,
regardless.
I have personal testimony that she definitely does that. But between all 7 or 9 of you and I, she has stepped in more than once. Whenever people start to burn out a little bit, she's there to let you just fence and touch and let you know that tomorrow's a different day. And we really do appreciate you.
Well, thank you. Because to me, at the end of the day, we are all humans, and we all grew up in different environments, and it shapes who we are. And sometimes people can get caught up in what's going around them individually, and it becomes apparent in any group setting. And we all just need to keep an open mind. And the reason why I bring this up is to go back to the question of the whole nonpartisanship thing, because whether you're a Hillary supporter, whether you're a Bernie supporter, or whether you're a Trump supporter, again, at the end of the day, it's not about who's right and who's wrong. We all have our reasons as to who we support and why. And nobody should ever be discounted for voting the way that they do, because obviously they did for a reason. We may not like that reason, but at least they voted.
Hear, hear. I like how you put that. That's very, very true. I completely agree with you 100%. So I have to wonder, you came on board last year with Our Voice USA, but prior to that, what kind of have you always been doing activism throughout your adult life? Was there a time when you paid zero attention to politics? What has it been so far for Madam Chaney?
I've always been aware of politics. I'm a big reader. I love to read and I love information, and it doesn't matter where I get it from. It's like I have a constant need not to learn but to read. And prior to November 2016, I've known about Bernie Sanders for quite a while before that. And what always got me about him was, even if it was an unpopular opinion, he stated how he felt. He stood up for what he believed in, and he always fought and stood for people. It didn't matter what side of the fence they were on. It was the concept of being there for the people. That even before, I would think, like, why doesn't this guy have a bigger role in politics? He always seemed to be off in the shadows and peep out every once in a while, and that's what piqued my attention, because of what he was then. And keep in mind, he's always been that person. It's not all of a sudden 2015, whatever year it was, that he came out to announce that he was running, that he became this person. He has always been that person. So when he announced that he was running, I was just so compelled. I could not believe it, because I thought, he's finally coming out of the shadows. Like, this is so great. But then to see how he related to the people, and it wasn't so much of the policies that he ran on. I agree with most of them, not all of them, but I do agree with most of them. But the fact that he was able to relate to so many people on those terms was a real big eye-opener for me, because then I realized this isn't just about how I feel about this man. It's about how this man could lay it out in terms that's been so badly needed by the rest of, whether you call them corporate shills, elitists, whatever the case may be. He broke it down in a way that I don't know if it was a purpose that he did it that way. I don't think so. Like I said, it's who he's always been. But to see him capture the attention of so many people, whether they were young, middle-aged, old, it doesn't matter. People loved him. For whatever reason, they loved him. And then that's what really got me involved. And honestly, I was living in Canada at that point. And as much as I followed politics, when at first, like, I was 100% behind Bernie. And then when he lost the primary and stuff, I felt defeated. And I did. I'm not ashamed to say I cried, because I thought, oh my gosh, the American people have somebody that, even though he has faults, because who doesn't have faults? You're not going to find somebody who's 100% perfect. Doesn't matter whether it's a politician, whether it's a doctor, whether it's a therapist, whether it's a teacher, whether it's nobody is ever going to be 100% the way that you want them to be. Because Bernie lost, now it has to be a Republican or a Democrat. Because being in Canada, that's kind of how the mentality was. Like, we have 3 or 4 different parties. We have, the Conservatives, we have the Liberals, we have the Green Party, and I think there was the NDP, the New Democrat, I can't remember the whole name. But anyways, and it's the same there, where there's the 2 popular parties and then the lesser popular parties. And the mindset is basically the same, that, okay, well, because this one didn't, get to where you wanted to be, you pick the lesser of the evil. So who's next in line? So at first I thought, okay, well, I guess we'll have to get behind Hillary. And the reason why I amped up my wanting to get involved, because Jesse is obviously an American. He came and lived with me in Canada for 15 years. So just before I joined Our Voice, we relocated here. So I really got more involved, because my thing was, this is going to be the place that I call home. I need to know more about what's going on and to be involved. So when I am able to vote, I'm ready, I'm prepared, I've done my homework, I can move forward.
Yeah. Getting back to your political activism. So you mentioned Canada and that you're actually you're from Canada, and Jesse lived with you there for 15 years. When you were in Canada, did you get active or work with anything that was maybe involving the government there, or any kind of activism activity?
Not so much as political, but I've always been involved with things that, to me, not that they required it, but it compelled me, whether, and I started even when I was in high school. We had, the 24-hour famines to help the children in Ethiopia. I did them faithfully every year. I did Relay for Life for Cancer every year because I have cancer survivors as well as people who have passed away from cancer. I became a branch manager for the Royal Canadian Legion where I lived. Because of the fact my grandfather fought in World War II. He had passed on, and he meant the world to me. He had passed on stories and stuff like that I wanted to do good. I wanted to do good by him and for the veterans that whether had served in World War I, World War II, the Vietnam War. And while I was there, I learned so many different stories. And there were nights I would just cry myself to sleep because I couldn't figure out why. It's great to stand up and fight for your country, but at the same time, some of the stuff that veterans, whether it's Canada or even in the US, they're fighting for capitalism. You know what I mean? We're not defending ourselves from anybody coming up on our shores, and there's some pretty horrific stories out there. I just don't feel comfortable saying that that's okay with the government to say, you know what, this is what we're doing, and because you signed up, you have no choice but to go.
I don't think too many people out there sign up to join the military with the intention of defending the rights of some corporation that has a spat over minerals and things that get pulled out of the ground. I totally see that point. Yeah.
And I do get, I'm not discounting, World War I or World War II. They were heinous in their own rights, with the extermination of Jews and stuff. So I see why people enlisted for that. I'm not opposed to that. But it seemed like anything after those world wars, it's just done on the guys for lining pockets and profits, and I just don't see how people are okay with using other people as collateral damage just to put extra money in the bank accounts. I can't.
Yeah, they say even Churchill used to talk about the number of soldiers dying every day during the war as his burn rate.
Right.
And just to, I understand it's necessary for strategy to think that way when you're doing that kind of global maneuvering, but I don't think I'd ever be able to wrap my brain around that.
No. So like I said, I've always been, I think it's honestly just part of my wiring. As far as I can remember, I've always stood for people who needed it, for people who needed help, for people that didn't have a voice, for people who wanted to get involved and just didn't know how. I've always been that person to say, no, it doesn't have to be this way, and try to figure out tools to show them. You don't have to accept this. There's nothing written on paper saying that this is your lot in life, so shut up and bear with it. No, I don't agree with that.
Hear. Absolutely. With all that being said, I have a curiosity. You're with Mr. Chaney. You have kids?
Yes. I have a set of twins who are 23 years old from a previous marriage, and Jesse and I have one son who is 13.
Okay, and your 13-year-old, Xander's his name?
Yes.
Yeah. Does he go to public school?
Yes.
Do you know roughly what kind of classes he has to take when he goes to that public school?
Right now he is taking, if I do believe, is math, physical education, English, I think it's computers, and he's taking actually a grade 9 agricultural class.
But no civics class?
No civics class. No.
That's what I was driving at there.
Yes.
Yeah, because I've heard Jesse say time and again that he recognizes that's been taken out of the curriculum, and I was just trying to get a confirmation from you. How do you feel about our? Of course, we could go on and on about how Miss DeVos is going to completely destroy stuff like a bull in a china shop, but how do you feel about how our educational system, at least in the States, compares to the education system that you experienced growing up in Canada? And with the caveat of when I was growing up, we actually did have civics class. It was a required thing. I think if you were advanced, you would end up getting like U.S. AP history added to it. But we got to learn about what our rights and privileges were. And I'm wondering, have they been downgrading in Canada as well, as far as you know, the way that they have in America?
Things might have changed since I've left Canada, which was about 1.5 years ago, but I can honestly say, to my knowledge, no. Even when Xander was in grade 6, he had to learn the structure of the Canadian government, the Parliament, Congress, the Senate, voting. They actually, at that time, I do believe we had a provincial election where some of the candidates even came to the school and talk to the kids about why they were running, how they got involved, so that they were aware of what it entails to run a campaign. So it was very interesting. And even when I was a kid growing up, I did the same thing. Right. And they also have a program, I can't remember, and I'm ashamed to say this. I think it is in high school, if you have a certain grade point average, you could put your name into a program where you can be selected to be a page in parliamentary hearing session.
Interesting.
Yep.
In America, I don't recommend any 13-year-olds or younger join the page program for our Congress, considering historical events that have taken place. It's a little bit iffy there.
Right.
Yeah, but the Congress critters don't know how to keep their hands to themselves.
No. And I hate to say it, I've learned a lot in the short time that I'm here. I've been here, that it's probably a terrible thing to say, but as an insider looking in, trying to become part of the not assimilation, but just learning, just the whole learning aspect. Capitalism drives any reason. Any, you know what I mean? Like, whether there's got to be a profit, there has nothing. It seems like nothing good is done with good intentions. There's always a price tag to it. And I'm not saying that that's not prevalent in Canada. It is, but it seems here it's more of a. I know what I'm trying to say. It's just not coming out.
Is it like a deeper focus in America, as opposed to it just happens to be there in Canada, but here it's like that's it.
That's part of the framework here, is what it seems. It's like it's an opportunity in Canada, but here it's like it's built into a framework.
You can't even escape it. Yeah. From your perspective, having lived in Canada, the kind of corruption that we have in our government, is it as rampant, would you say, as in Canada as it has always been here? Or is it just now starting to become more so there with Trudeau and his antics?
I would like to say that it hasn't always been that way, but mind you, I also try to take into consideration that social media and technology they're always changing. So even to compare whether it's the US and Canada and their politics 20 years ago, yes, there was media, there was news, there was a newspaper, but now with the help of social media, you can know anything you want, you know what I mean, within a minute. Doesn't matter who's passed away, it doesn't matter what event is going on, it doesn't matter what's happening in the news, everything happens in real time. So I try to put that into perspective when it comes to things like that, like the question you had asked, because I'm not going to be naive and say, no, Canada is pure. We've never experienced that until Trudeau. I think it's always been there. It's just now people are becoming, I honestly think, because of the whole Trump era and the Bernie era and the Hillary era, the whole November 2016 fiasco is what I call it. Which we all know Jesse calls it the clusterfuck, but I'm a little nicer. So I think that really brought people more in tune to what is going on. Trudeau was not, everybody sees him as this awesome socialist, progressive. No. He still stands for pipelines.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He is not who he is. He was a drama teacher who took winter vacations to go snowboarding. Like, he was not, just because, and he was a prime minister's son. So it was almost like, how now you see people that are just so excited that Michael Avenatti has to run for, president of 2020 because he's standing up for Trump because of Stormy Daniels. And it's almost like that rhetoric, if you applied it to Trudeau,
yeah,
it's not because of his political background. It's because, he was, Pierre Elliott Trudeau's son, because we figure he was such a great prime minister. Well, his son, Justin, has to be just even better. You know what I mean? So it wasn't even about the merit. It wasn't about what he offered. He sounded good.
It was a dynasty, though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it was. And it was a reason for Canadians, the majority of Canadians, to say we've had enough of Stephen Harper, who ran, I think it was on 4 terms. Don't quote me on it. I'm rusty on that.
That's okay.
But he had been in there quite a bit of time. And I think people were just tired that, you know what? It's a lesser of two evil kind of thing, right? This is where we're going. And that's how Trudeau got in. And the funny thing is, I'm a Liberal. Under Canada's voting parties, I consider myself a Liberal, and I would never even vote Trudeau.
Yeah.
But yet he's a Liberal. I don't stand for him.
Interesting. It seems that not only in Canada but in other especially European countries, it's like a rise of maybe not a rise of, but like neoliberal economics beating its chest, taking over these political positions.
And I don't understand whether it's, in Europe or whether it's in the United States or Canada. I don't understand why now these politicians feel so brazen to be so...
They're like, I love money. I love capitalism.
Exactly.
We're never going to instill any kind of socialistic ideals. And why should we put restraint on things? And
exactly.
Are you kidding me?
Right? And it's almost like a taboo if anybody calls them out. Like, what are you talking about? For example, Mr. McCain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, don't be afraid to call them out. And actually, I don't know if you noticed even yesterday with Alexandria
Ocasio-Cortez.
Yes. I don't know if you've seen the tweet that she put out in regards to Mr. McCain's passing. And somebody basically had pointed out that that's not the time nor the place, and nobody should be, dragging her for what she had tweeted.
Right.
My thoughts are, this is where we're at because people are afraid to stand up to say, no, that is incorrect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Enough of that. Enough coddling. Enough passes. No, if they truly are for the people, they need to not fall in line. That's not absolutely not what I'm trying to say.
Well, no, but furthermore, and I saw that tweet, and I also saw all the other people quoting it. They're making very valid points about this man and the fact that she had some pretty terrible word choice in the beginning of it.
Yes.
And this isn't so much about there's a time and a place for this and you shouldn't jump on her for that and we should respect blah, blah, blah. These are the moments that get remembered when people pass. Whenever someone dies, this is the time right now where if you say something that is painting the wrong fucking picture, let's say fictionally, let's say Darth Vader dies, right? Yeah. Oh, Darth Vader does eventually die. And then his obituary is written. And in his obituary, it says he grew in a gigantic and successful empire that was doing great things for planets all across the universe and was bringing law and order back to the people so that they don't have to succumb to the pirates and the rebellion. Like, I could put it that way, and it sounds like he did a bunch of awesome stuff. Yes. But what he really did was he was crushing people. This guy, John McCain, committed damn near, he was adjacent to crimes, if anything else.
Absolutely.
He was drums for war. He fucked over Native American tribes for water for a golf course, and at another point, I think he moved a whole group of people onto some nuclear land that was like a nuclear test site, right?
Yes.
That was for the water thing, so that they could take water out and build a golf course.
Yes.
I just, it's like we have to correct the record right now.
Exactly, and that's my point. It's almost like people are trying to rewrite history as history is happening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's easier to gaslight people further down the road. No! He was a piece of crap then, and guess what? He's still a piece of crap, even though he's now going to be 6 feet under. It does not, just because somebody passes away, doesn't mean that they should be glorified and put into some sainthood, because look at what he's done.
Exactly. And you even mentioned, you said everybody makes mistakes, and of course they do. And of course we, people forgive stuff, but this is a consistent life of enriching himself and his donors.
Exactly.
And at the expense of other people's livelihoods, lives, and even, he left his first wife, and I could debate this all day, in order to have a better campaign.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
She was crippled, man.
And some people are actually, I've been on Twitter this morning more or less trying to defend myself because of this whole McCain, being such a saint and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
One of the things that got to me was the fact that people are spouting he should be remembered because he was so awesome, for that vote for Medicare, because he waited till the last minute to stick to Trump and put his thumbs down, and it was unable to pass.
Right.
And it's like, do you not remember after that he voted to repeal Medicare? How quickly, what I mean? Like, how quickly are you to forget that he was still out to get you because of that one good thing out of how many terrible things? Doesn't give him a pass.
All they're saying is, don't forget that one time he did a photo op. The other one I see is when he was running for president, and he was somebody tried to badmouth Obama. It was a woman stood up and she said that, I heard that he's not really and I heard that he's not really and she was trying to say, I heard she's not really an American, but he cut her off and he said, nope. He is a decent human being. He's a good man, a family man, and he deserves respect.
Yeah.
This one moment, he shows a little humility, and then somebody else pointed out, actually what he should have said is that nobody should be judged based on the color of their skin or their religion that they happen to be a part of or that you perceive them to be. And anyway,
No, and I totally agree with that.
That's not indicative of his entire career, is my point, I guess.
And exactly, and it doesn't change all the bad decisions or the bad policies that he had no problem standing up for. That doesn't negate that. You know what I mean? Like, another reference I put out that I got a lot of hate mail for was, okay, so if you're asking me to respect the dead, then we should be okay with, Ted Bundy. Yeah, he was great. He did some good things. Why? You know what I mean? He was a serial killer. Jeffrey Dahmer, like he did some great things. So where do we draw that line? Just because it's a politician? We should demand and expect more from a politician. They do the job for us, which they should be doing. Obviously, most of them are not. But you can't pick and choose. It's either one way or the other. No. And to me, and if you're a politician, you should be held to higher standards. Your leaders, you're representing, a fraction of constituents across a great country.
Yeah.
So why are we not holding them to
the moment you become a public servant, you become more than just your person. You become more than just one person. You become all those people that you represent, no matter if it's just a little municipality or a whole half of a state. And the point making there is that you no longer have that natural personhood when you're operating as that senator or as that Congress member. You have unnatural personhood. Once you do that, you can't, I don't know, all of a sudden they're doing things to enrich themselves. They're making decisions by greasing wheels back and forth. They make backdoor deals. They enrich their donor class. And ultimately it becomes about raising money in order to win the chair again so that you can get two things done and have a career that lasts for 40 years.
Exactly. And then when it comes to things like that, I disagree with that, because at the end of the day, they are running for their donors. They're not even representing the people, because they have to keep that charitable status or their party status or the fundraising dollars in their pocketbook to enable them to be there for 40 years.
That's why everybody still loves the people that are enrich themselves because of her presence still love Hillary Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
In part because she's the best donation grabber until she loses that effect. As soon as she's unable to draw more money in from people and from rich people, then she will just disappear like everybody else has.
Right.
I actually wish she would understand that. Then she'd probably get off of her high horse.
And and that's the reality of things. If you really stop to look at it, if she was a really good politician, as everybody figures that she is, she would figure that out. But because she hasn't, I question how intelligent are you truly? If you cannot see that you are not the people's wish, or the people do not want you there comes a point in time where you look and say, okay, you know what? I've done my best. Whether it was a right thing to do or a wrong thing to do. She ran her time as Madam Secretary. She was in the Senate. It's time to walk away. There just comes a time where you just say, okay, I get it. I'm done.
Right. I'm no longer relevant. They see through my shit.
And to me, that makes her more pushy and ignorant above everything else.
It's like somebody who was the head of the PTA for a while, and then they lost their recent election, and they're still like trying to call the shots from the back row in the classroom.
Exactly. Like, it's like, no, your time is over.
Yeah.
Your time is over. and the longer she continues doing what she is doing, I see murmurs of Chelsea possibly toying with the idea of running. Not that I would ever vote for Chelsea, but that's also going to hinder Chelsea's chances. People are going to be so burned out by Hillary, and I'm sure most people are already, that no.
And let me tell you, there will be no lack of fodder to fire at Chelsea if she tries to run for something.
Exactly.
The mere fact that she's running their fake charities, in my opinion, and many others, including Charles Ortel, who's been investigating them for charity fraud for years now. So, in
the end, and I hate to cut you off here, I really do. The one thing that sticks in my mind when it comes to that is I really wish people would open their eyes, in the sense that both Hillary and Bill have stated when they got into the White House under Bill, they had no money. How do you go to struggling and having no money to now being such uber billionaires?
Yeah. Exploitation.
You know what I mean? There's no...
And you can't make that much money just giving speeches either. They made a lot giving speeches.
Exactly.
But that's not the only way you do that.
Exactly.
That can't possibly be their only source of revenue.
And I think...
Even selling books still doesn't make you that.
Exactly. And I think this is going back to... one of the points that I had made was we need to not be afraid to hold politicians to standards, but also don't be afraid to ask them these questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. You don't need to take things at face value just because it's said. This is how MSM has gotten to be where they're at because Anderson Cooper says so, it's got to be true. Or Sean Hannity said this has to be true. Do your homework.
Yeah, and they keep the people that are telling them what to say, they're like, well, they believed that. Let's see if they believe this one. Oh, shit, they believed that too? All right.
Exactly. So now we're all in this situation thinking, well, how the bleepity bleep did we get here? It's a combination of things.
We run a false story, and then everyone demands a retraction, so we produce a retraction and say, sorry about that. Then we run another false story, and everyone says it's false, and we pull it, but we don't print a retraction. Then we run a false story, everyone says it's false, and we change the title a little bit and never do anything about the content and still leave the false story up there. And all of a sudden, you just have what our shitty fucking president is calling fake news. That doesn't mean that everything coming out of there is bullshit, but it certainly means that the things that have opinions attached to them are completely biased and 100% not trustable.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So anyway, with all of that being said, I think it might be time for the lightning round.
Uh-oh.
Listeners at home, as you know, if you've listened to any of the other recent interviews that I've given since the Corey Henderson interview, we have produced something called a lightning round. Lightning round consists of 10 questions. They're going to be yes or no, true or false, possibly short essay, but I won't make it too hard. And this time around, I will divulge to the audience, I did not write any of them down. I'm having to make all of them up off the cuff. So are you ready for the lightning round?
All right, let's go.
Okay. Lightning round. What is your favorite color?
Red.
How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could not chuck wood?
None. I'm not good at tongue twisters. I can't even get the seashells. She shelled one right.
If you had the choice to vote for a Green Party candidate, whomever it might be, Donald Trump or Joe Biden, who would it be in the 2020 election?
Oh, Green Party.
Green Party. Do you believe that the Green Party is ever going to be able to get a chance on the debate stage with the Democrats and the Republicans in a fair and just election?
Unfortunately, at this point, I do not think they can.
Okay. If Facebook were to decide to incorporate itself as a different entity and became a co-op where all of the users got to share revenue from whatever advertising revenue came into Facebook, would you continue to use Facebook and join into this profit sharing system?
I think I'd be fine with that.
All right. Do you think that it is possible to create a brand new internet that allows for the freedom of speech? Otherwise, no corporation gets to cull what we see and don't see.
You know, Jesse talked to me about that this morning, and I totally support that.
All right. Here comes FYI, everyone. Okay. Do you prefer Mac or PC?
PC. I'm sorry. I just can't handle getting used to a Mac.
Do you prefer coffee, green tea, energy drinks, or just straight up yoga?
Green tea.
Green tea. All right. What's your favorite music that you're listening to right now?
Oh my! Right now, I'm on a whole Lizzie Hale hailstorm kick.
Ooh, Lizzie Hale. Okay. And last but not least, if you could be any type of tree, what type of tree would you be and why?
I'm honestly stumped at this one. Is there not a tree out in Africa? Is it the Joshua tree I'm thinking of?
Yes.
I don't know. That it can pretty much sustain itself even without water for a long time?
Yes.
Then that is the tree that I choose.
And that is a good reason why. Thank you very much for participating in the lightning round, Cori Chaney.
Thank you.
Well, with that, we're going to have to go ahead and take this interview to a close. Cori, it has been a pleasure getting to introduce you to the rest of the world, all 12 or 14 of them. Maybe we'll rise to 16 in a couple of weeks. Who knows?
And I thank you very, very much for inviting me to come on. I really enjoyed it.
Cool. Tell your friends.
I sure will. You have a great day, Chris.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So, before Zoom chopped me up and stifled my free speech, because there's a 40-minute limit, I was going to ask this one question that I wanted to get your take on it, Jess. Given the way I shape it, you obviously know where I'm coming from. But should big corporations like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all of those things and iTunes, should big corporations who operate as the new town squares, the neo town square, be allowed to infringe on the rights that we all assume we have until we don't, when we realize that we've signed the terms of service in order to be involved? Should we, the people, be able to regulate those companies once they create a system where that seems to be the place where all of our speech takes place? Should we then not be able to apply the First Amendment to that and force these companies to bend to the will of the people rather than the people bending to the will of these companies?
Well, honestly, you got to remember this is in all 50 states, it is illegal to drink and drive, right? It is illegal for me to have an open container of alcohol. Now, I can consume alcohol as long as it's under a certain limit and depending on the state, but all states agree that it is illegal to drive while you're drunk.
True.
But Busch Beer is the biggest sponsor of NASCAR. Budweiser is a big sponsor of NASCAR, and that is an actual direct driving race. Now, that being said, it just goes to show you that, I mean, everyone's got to keep in mind, if you don't like Facebook, get with someone smart. Like, I'm tempted to get with the smartest person I know, which is Cori, who did our app. And let's create our own Facebook with hookers, strippers, and blackjack, and then throw it out and see what happens. If we don't like Facebook telling us what we can and cannot say, stop using it. If we don't like Twitter being able to ban us for what they view as possibly, wrong speech or offensive speech, well, I've got morals too. And my morals are not going to line up 100% because I find it morally reprehensible that Twitter will ban this person for saying something and not this person. Or that, Westboro Baptist, they've got a platform to speak on. They're not being dinged.
Right.
So
they literally have a thing in the Twitter's terms of service that you shouldn't, you can't use speech that incite or that glorifies violence. And recently, somebody was kicked off of Twitter for having made a comment about how they're happy that John McCain's cancer was eating his brain or something like that, right?
Okay, so
Twitter kicks them off, and so when they finally came back, they said, "Why is it that I have to go away, but whenever MSNBC's Rachel Maddow pops up or somebody else and says that the glory of the missiles getting fired on Syria are beautiful and it's letting us know that freedom's going to ring there soon," like they're glorifying violence. So all these people are getting murdered.
Okay, yes and no, because technically they're reporting on an event that actually has happened. Now,
And
depending
their
on
commentary.
Okay, but we can go even one step easier on that and go, why the fuck does the UFC have a Twitter page? They are glorifying violence.
Yeah. Actually, that's an easier one to make.
I'm not saying anything negative about UFC. I mean, UFC, realistically. Now, here's the thing, is technically that's not violence. It's a sport. Violence, it would be if the UFC did, sucker punch drive-bys on homeless people.
That would be a glorified violence. Yeah.
That's violence for violence sake.
I think the argument I'm trying to make, though, is that if you didn't want to see that, we have so many different filters now that people can apply to things. They can write code that will block out everything. You can let your kids search on Google and they will never see porn anymore. That right. is a thing. You can set that up. So why then can't... Are you really saying that you're not okay with the people of a sovereign nation making a decision about a company that decided to at least make its profiting public I don't know. I think we should be allowed to regulate what Facebook can and can't allow. And in order to fix the problem is that we insist that they create buffers for people so that if they want to see it, they don't have to.
But we can. It's called Don't Use Facebook.
Yeah.
We can. It's called Don't Use Twitter. We can. It's called Don't Use YouTube. I mean,
so once these companies have a monopoly on the market, and by the way, Facebook and their connection with Instagram and their being at least financially tied to all the other social media, that is a monopoly. Google, Facebook, Amazon, that is the monopoly right now. And if anyone wants to break into that, they can't, because we just had our net neutrality taken away. So not only do they have a monopoly, but they also have things worked out with the ISPs so that they can throttle everybody and keep anybody else from breaking into the market. Sounds an awful lot like the Republicans and the Democrats stopping any other third, fourth, or fifth party from being recognized on television.
Because
so what I'm saying to that is I'm calling that fucking bullshit. I believe in a company having every right to do whatever they wish and to be able to block people out and all that stuff. I even think that cake-making homophobes should be able to tell gay people, no, I don't want to make a cake for you. But this is beyond reproach. This is the one space that they have a monopoly on now, on speech. This is the place where everyone goes now to say speech. It's how we upload podcasts. It's how we all listen to our music now. It's where we all go to talk to our fucking moms. We don't call people on a phone anymore. We don't go outside and talk to our neighbors face to face. That rarely happens anymore. Everybody's online.
I'm going to throw an idea out there.
It's frustrating me because they've created a scenario where we're now trapped.
Okay, that's fine. I'm going to throw this idea out there, and anyone that's listening to it, and if it sounds like a good idea, by all means, let's fucking jump on this shit. Okay, it's no different than paying taxes. Okay, me alone as a single taxpayer, no one's going to fucking listen to me. I'm one fucking person, right? But they're still taking my tax money and throwing it into the big fucking coffers so they can send those missiles to Yemen, or they can send that drone to this country. You know what I mean? I don't agree with that. I don't like it. Me as a lone taxpayer, I have no juice, I have no power. Now, that being said, let's use this shit to our advantage then. Everyone who is mad at Facebook over the Alex Jones, or doesn't agree with Facebook, or doesn't agree with this, you've got a point. They've throttled, and they've got us throttled. But what they don't and they cannot do, and this is what I've said for the last 5 fucking years, is I am pissed off as an American that democracy that we are supposed to have does not work in my fucking country, but works in Egypt. Look at the Arabs.
Right.
Look at the Arab Spring.
We never do that here, ever.
Okay. So that being said,
once.
Yeah. Fuck Comcast. Fuck AT&T. Fuck the Big Five. Fuck a shit pie. Fuck them all. Let's crowdsource a company that can buy all our bandwidth, and we, as a crowd-funded, we are not at the mercy of shareholders. We are not at the mercy of a corporation. We are the people, bythepeople.com. We will be, you don't want fucking service interruptions? You want to come to a place that's going to let you do and see and do anything on the internet you want to fucking do, join our ISP server. We don't throttle anyone. If we crowdsource that and then we're able to get enough funds together, we could make a run for AT&T. But the problem is when you get people into a situation where AT&T says, hey, look, I know you guys are making a lot of noise. And let's say we get crowdfunded and we got $9.8 billion to fucking buy bandwidth. That would be amazing. We are a corporation and we're going to do this and everything else. At the key and at the core, we are still people. If they can't buy us off, they'll kill us off. If they can't kill us off, they'll make it to where, don't go to the, WeThePeopleBandwidth.com because they let pedophiles on their thing. Ooh, they let people search the dark web and buy one-armed Filipino sex slaves. Ooh, they're going to smear it some way. People as a fucking unit, we've got to be smart enough to turn around and tell these fucking assholes, and I mean fucking assholes, at Facebook, at Twitter, at YouTube, you're a corporate fucking piece of shit, and if I had an alternative, I would use that alternative. So let's be the alternative. Let's start a crowdfunded source to, you want to make it to where AT&T can throttle our website? That's fine. We're going to do, if someone could crowdsource a kidney operation for a fucking poor little girl, why can't we crowdsource something that's going to make us all better off?
Jesse, I think that's a fantastic idea. And you should know that there are some municipalities, some cities out there who have already gotten together publicly as a city and done the very same thing. They block out, I think, Spectrum is up here in the Northeast, and they got kicked out of New York because they said they weren't providing the proper appropriate stuff. And then there's a couple of cities in California where they're actually their own ISP.
Yeah, but that's fine. But why can't we get with Cori and turn around and say, hey, we see how Facebook operates.
You want to make another private company that just decides to waive all of its private rights. Is that really what you're shooting at?
No. I'm going to take it a step further. Now, that being said, why cannot we start our corporation we're a nonprofit organization with our voice right now? Are we not?
We are not. We are Progressive Rampage, and I'll be cutting that part out of the podcast.
Okay, well, you can cut that out. But my point is we can actually start ourselves off as a nonprofit organization that will provide internet service and social media services and Twitter-like services that are 110% following the First Amendment rights.
I would say that would be fucking awesome.
But our terms and agreement says this, is everyone has the right to say anything and everything they want. That being said, you now will nullify your right to be fucking pissed off with us as a company if you hear someone say something that you don't fucking like.
We're going to call it would protect itself in libel suits and all that.
Correct.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, that being said, that is what needs to happen, right? And that is the
I mean, that's essentially what's going on 4chan, except people still get banned anyway. There are a few things that I think, as a whole, most of society, and I say most, like 99.9% of us, will agree that anything involving the nasty of the nasties, like somebody filmed a rape or pedophilia, which is also just basically rape.
Okay,
anything like that.
Wait, stop.
Blocked out. That's not free speech. That's committing crimes.
Okay, but that's the thing is we can make it to, we set it up. We are not police. If someone is putting something out there that shows them committing a crime,
we just have to report it. Is that the goal there?
That's it. Hey, we got this video, or this video automatically gets reported with an ISP server and everything else. Look, this person broke a law. Now, they put it on our platform and they shared it with the rest of the world. So we don't condone that, but at the same time, we know that this is an illegal activity. Here you go, police officer. Here you go, FBI. Here you go, whoever. Have the fuck at her. But it's not our place to block it. It's not our place. It'd be no different than if we were holding a fucking kumbaya chant at the town center and some guy walked up, whipped his dick out, and pulled a gun out and shot someone. I'm not responsible.
The people holding the kumbaya are not responsible for Mr. Ding Dong. Yeah,
no,
right.
But Mr. Ding Dong still had the right in that public forum to do that.
That's true. And then if he's offended, you can take it up in court or something.
Exactly. But my thing is people have to understand is there's a difference between being lawful and being unlawful. And I mean unlawful in the sense, not this federal FCC bullshit where I said the word fuck and that broke a law. Fuck your law, because free speech is giving me the right to say fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck Trump, fuck John McCain, fuck Barney the dinosaur. Fuck you all. You can't stop me from doing that. Right? Now, if I physically go out and perform these unwanted sexual acts on said people that I just mentioned, I'm breaking a lot of laws. And one is desecrating the body because John McCain's fucking dead, and the other one is Barney. And even though technically I'm not sexually assaulting Barney, it's the person in the suit. So Barney can't charge me, but the guy who plays Barney can. But you see what I mean? There's a difference.
I totally see what you mean. You know, you mentioned in there, you mentioned John McCain. Recently, he died. I think he died a couple of days ago at age 81. Madam Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she made a statement that kind of, it seemed to go a little bit above and beyond what one would need to say about somebody like John McCain. And it's caused a lot of the people who claim to be progressives, and I say it that way because there are both people who are and people who like to masquerade as such, making comments towards her, kind of shaming her for having even said such a thing. And what she said was, John McCain's legacy represents an unparalleled example of human decency and American service.
That's not true.
And she went on after that saying that she had been an intern and she learned a lot about power of humanity in government through his deep friendship with Senator Kennedy. He meant so much to so many. My prayers are with his family. Now, the very last part, he meant so much to so many. My prayers are with his family. I can accept her saying that. The middle part, as an intern, I learned a lot about the power of humanity in government through his deep friendship with Senator Kennedy. So that's a Republican and a Democrat getting along. I can see her pointing that out as well. But the very first part is what people began to attack with, let's see here, Brittany Sneers at Blue Purple Rain on Twitter. She said, this is why I don't deify politicians. They all disappoint you eventually by giving in to respectability politics and lionize warmongers.
Yes.
Another guy made a comment after that, Nick Estes, at Nick W, with some underscores in there. He said, when John McCain was trying to steal Apache land for copper mining and Navajo drinking water for 5-star golf courses, the relatives here in the Southwest chanted on the res and in the streets, John McCain is our Kit Carson. John McCain is an Indian killer. So if somebody that has that kind of a reputation then gets the darling of the Democratic Socialist movement, which, by the way, I'm still very hopeful that she'll do some good things in Congress if she gets elected, to say that his legacy represents unparalleled example of human decency and American service?
Okay, so I'm going to stop you right.
Who Martin Luther King Jr. was?
Stop. I'm going to stop you right there. That right there should be the biggest warning sign that everyone needs to realize. Okay? Yeah. She is no different than any other politician as far as I'm concerned now. She said something to get elected.
Right.
I don't care. She said something to get elected. She's now in the position, and now she has to change what she said, how she acted to get in that said position, because now she has to play with these other people.
She's going to have to pivot.
Exactly. And everyone needs to understand the simple fucking concept that this is the flaw with our democracy. This is the flaw with our system. Everyone is everyone will tell you politicians lie to get what they want. And they're like, that's just the way it is. No. I say, if you know they're going to lie to you, dismantle the system and put something else in place.
Yeah, or don't vote for people that do that, and only vote for ones who say they won't. And then when they do, you kick them out. And
but you
don't
can't.
have the line until you find it.
No, you can't, because you got to think of our democracy is cancerous, pure and simple. It's cancer. It's cancerous. It's a fucking tumor, and we're throwing, blood cells, and we're throwing fucking, medicine at a tumor. But the minute it gets close enough to that tumor, it's so big, it's so large, it instantaneously either counteracts the medicine that we throw at it, or the new white blood cells that we're sending in get part of it and sucked in and mutated into said tumor.
Actually, and the way that cancer operates in those situations is it pretends to be the right cells. It pretends to be okay, so the white blood cells don't attack it.
Until we get...
It can even pretend to be white blood cells.
Right, but until
that analogy shows all these newbies that come into politics and think they're not going to get corrupted. And I'm not saying she is. I'm just saying, lo and behold, in the past, that's always been how it works.
If she wants to get anything meaningful done, she is going to have to hand out hand jobs to despicable, rich white men to get them to agree to back her.
Hopefully figuratively.
Well, but it's the same thing. I mean, we people don't understand that if you know you're going to get screwed when you buy a used car from Bob down the lot, why do you continuously go buy cars from Bob down the street? If he sells you shit and you know he sells you shit, and then you buy his shit, you're the fucking problem, not Bob.
It's almost like it's like a national Stockholm syndrome.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We've become so accustomed to politicians being corrupt, our country going to war with people for no good reason except monetary, and stifling free speech and beating down the leftists and the rightists that want to go out and actually express themselves. It's like we're just used to it. That's why Egypt has a better democracy than we do. That's why they flood the streets when they want fucking change, and they get it.
Yeah.
And that's why we're all stuck at home, holding on, clutching our $1,000 cell phones and drinking water out of a plastic bottle because they took away the clean shit in the tap. I mean, we're never going to fill the streets at this rate.
People need to understand that the country you know and the country you love, the idea that you have, it's no different than the same what we were talking about. Okay? Our picture of the country and the democracy and the things that we, as Americans, is not fucking real. We are not number one. We're not number one in education. We're not number one in healthcare. We're not number one in keeping children from starving. We're not number one in protecting the weakest of us.
I would even say fighting to be number one, that whole concept of fucking make America great again, that to reach back and say we had this at one point and we want it back. We never had it to begin with, and they're playing off of a mirage that's always worked in the past, and now it doesn't because we have all this information at our fingertips.
Right.
We need to stop trying to focus on becoming great and the greatest society ever, and just work on making our society pleasant. Like, try to create things that we can all benefit from, and stop focusing on trying to dominate everybody else. I don't even see the point in it anymore.
Because it's all bullshit. It's all the same bullshit that's been running for the last 100+ years.
And it works really well at generating income for a certain small group of people.
Correct. No different than World War II. Like everyone likes to put it, well, after World War II, America was the number one producer of everything. Well, no fucking shit.
Blew the shit out of everything. Yeah.
Because we didn't have fucking Nazi Germany flying blitzkrieg fucking runs and destroying everything in the continental USA. Europe did.
And they didn't, by the way, because we were giving them fucking munitions and weapons in the first place.
Correct. That's why we were number one for so long in mass production of shit. Now, once everything got situated, and I've watched it in my lifetime from everything coming out of China to Pakistan to all these other countries. Well, if we're so fucking great and we so fucking care about our fellow people, why do we, as a society, continue to buy Apple products that are made under very, very horrible fucking conditions? Oh, because it's happening to someone in a third world country. We don't give a shit as long as we get the product, right? So all you fucking people that use iPhones, shame the fuck on you.
And everybody who's using all the other cell phones, too,
exactly.
by the way.
Exactly.
And I took a half measure myself. I made a point a few years ago to never, ever again buy a brand new phone. I will never purchase a new phone. I will always buy it used, because at the very least then I'm adding to the value of an object, of the person who created the object.
But
right?
the person who created that object isn't getting it.
Of course they're not, but I'm putting value to their work, their labor. If you keep buying new, that ramps up production, that makes more shitty jobs for people that they put nets on the side of the building so you don't jump off of it.
Mm-hmm. Here's my question.
Stop buying new stuff.
No. Here's my question. We talked about what we talked about with the internet. We can take that and apply that across the board on everything for our country. Okay? We as people, we as shareholders, we as citizens of the United States should and will and do have the power. They just No one ever fucking tells us that we have the power. Why can we not go and tell iPod or Apple or Samsung or company X, guess what? You and we as a people need to have a sit down and understanding. We will not buy your product if you make it overseas under X amount of conditions. We will not allow you to take jobs from our country to a third world country and basically enforce children to make that product at a deep discount so you can make more money, because we as a society are 300 million strong. We as a society are 300 million consumers strong. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, now if we as consumers all sat down and told all these companies, you're going to bring these jobs back to America, and yes, we're going to be maybe paying, we're not even going to pay anymore. You're just not going to make an astronomical fucking profit off of it. Or we will, and this is going to sound socialist, oh, everyone gets scared. Or we as a society will publicly fund a company that will do it, and you will be locked out of this market forever, period.
I think I could get used to a Tesla phone.
Why not? If Tesla is willing to make that in Detroit, which is horribly fucking depressed, why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Why not? They could not gentrify, but whatever. They could fix that whole area up. They could take care of the water problem like fucking overnight with their money.
Yeah.
You know?
But the thing is now everyone likes to sit here and talk about capitalism and capitalism. Capitalism only works when you've got someone to take advantage of.
Right.
Whether
if you have someone to hold restraint against it.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
You
have to force it.
I live in Georgia. 200 years ago, before the Civil War fucking happened, this place was booming because they had an advantage over the North. We had black slave free labor. Of course, the cotton cost me nothing to pick. If I just got to feed a couple people, throw a whip at them every once in a while, and talk about being a good old Southern boy, I had an advantage, economical advantage over the North, who had to pay someone. Of course, their profits aren't going to be as large as mine because my labor is free.
Yep.
We're seeing the same thing with every fucking thing that we buy as consumers, whether it's a phone, whether it's a toy, whether it doesn't matter. That company is still going over to some third world country and taking advantage. They're going to have a better advantage over someone in this country that's making it here because they have to pay a livable wage.
The fact remains that our companies are basically using an old model of pay as little to the worker as possible and
Correct.
maximize profit using like exploiting labor. And that is essentially what capitalism is if you don't have anything to restrain it.
The only thing that capitalism has done in the last 200 fucking years is broke companies or put companies up as IPOs. Right? That is the only thing that they have changed in the last 200 fucking years. And that was begrudgingly to begin with.
Yeah.
US Oil in the early days of this country were the fucking monopoly. They owned everything. And if you were a smaller company, they'd come in and buy you out, or they'd come in and fucking shut you down. They'd purposely come into a town.
The other large companies, they own pieces of those too.
Exactly. Yeah. So what they did is they said, okay. Okay, so if you don't break us up, what we'll do is we'll say the company is worth $100 a share and there's 10,000 shares, and we'll let some poor son of a bitch buy our shares, and then they become a shareholder. How's that sound? And they were like, yeah, that sounds good, but we're going to make it to where you're going to write a law that says now we're a corporation, and under federal law as a corporation, we must show a profit for our shareholders. That is a law now. And they were like, okay, fine. So it didn't really do anything. It just allowed someone else to come in and take a little chunk of that profit as a shareholder. Doesn't stop that company from still going overseas and making, children build fucking iPhones, or children dismantle cell phones and get, all that toxic shit that's in there all over them, and it fucks up their air and their water and an entire generation. Because at that country's core is a bunch of poor, corrupt bastards who are willing to let companies come in and do that to them. It's the Wakanda fucking
So
Simplex.
ultimately, what you could say then is that the answer to all of these companies exploiting labor, stifling free speech, keeping us from being able to prosper as a nation, and taking away our rights as individuals because they've now consumed all of the public space that we see as public. The answer to that is not to try to stifle their speech, but the answer to bad speech is more speech. Right. And I would say that their ability to cut people off would be, you can equate that to bad speech, right? That's YouTube saying these guys are bad and we can't display them anymore, right? And so we need to create companies. We need to get up off our ass and actually fucking do something about this. Instead of complaining about it and expecting these other rich guys to go ahead and push their stuff around and give up their increasing profits, which is never going to fucking happen. We need to come back at them with what we know to be the right thing to do.
The best way to beat someone at a game is to figure out how they play that game and play that game better than them. And right now we're getting our asses handed to us by corporate America. And corporate America is behind everything. And anyone that doesn't believe that, then you look at who you can criticize. Obviously, someone is somewhere who doesn't like what someone says on this platform. It means they criticize them and they want to get rid of them because you made us look bad. Or you said something bad about this person. Who gives a shit? Oh, well, we do, and we own the platform. Fine, take your platform, shove it up your ass. I'm going to start my own platform with blackjacks and hookers. So suck a dick. And that's what needs to happen on everything. Tired of fucking iPhone charging you $1,000 for a fucking phone that doesn't have a fucking head jack port, is a fucking punk as shit, and has been proven to only cost like $8 or $9 to actually fucking make. And they're making a fucking $992 fucking profit off your dumb ass. But hey, it's got filters and it makes you look like a puppy dog. Go fuck yourself. I'm going to start my own cell phone company that we're going to fucking make it in the United States. It's going to cost you a little bit more. But you know what? You're making sure that someone else can feed their kids in America. Someone else can pay their mortgage in America. Someone else can do a fellow American thing like you and purchase something else. But that's the model that we need to have. And that needs to go from internet to politics. And understand that all politicians will fucking lie to get what they want because corporate America is running it all. You don't like corporate America running your politics? Don't buy their products. Support companies that start your own company. You know what I mean? If we can crowdsource, what was that one that crowdsourced to fucking drink the red liquid?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, if someone can crowdsource that, then why can't we crowdsource something that's going to benefit us all?
Jesse, I think that is a fantastic fucking idea. And I just want to go ahead and maybe make a little bit of a segue here. Rest in piss, John McCain.
Pretty much. I mean, the guy was a scumbag. He's a politician. You can't please everyone all the time. And purposely, you cannot please everyone at the expense of your overlords.
And you definitely can't please people at the expense of entire, native nations.
No. I mean, look at that. I mean, realistically, look at that. I don't care whether you're an Indian. I don't care whether you're a Mexican. I don't care whatever your ethnic background is. Are you an American like me? Then that makes you an American. He purposely went against the better and the benefit and the fucking welfare of fellow Americans to make someone else money in the corporate world. Yeah. He's doing it just like all the other fucking assholes in politics are doing it, and that's what people need to realize.
And to enrich himself, too.
Exactly. Well, I mean, that's just a given. I mean, if I ran a company and Facebook said, okay, I started ICQ2, right? Remember ICQ? Okay, yeah. I'm going to do, it's not that hard. I mean, the stuff's out there. All the software that is you running Facebook and everything else is out there. You just got to find someone to jump on it with you. And Zuckerberg didn't even create Facebook. He stole the fucking idea, and it's been proven.
Yeah.
But he was smart enough to fucking run it to where everyone. Facebook, we won't go into that. That's a whole nother conversation. But my point is if we don't like something the way it runs, we need to play the game and then take the game over. Right?
That's exactly what I wish people had done with Senator John McCain.
Yes. I mean, he's a senator, and he made a bunch of other rich white guys more richer at the expense of a minority. Oh, no, that's never happened before in our country.
And people tried and tried to stop him. They kept running against him. And you know what? He just kept winning and winning. And I think part of the problem was the demographic of Arizona in the first place.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of old, crotchety fucking conservatives that remember a time in their mind that never actually existed. But for some reason, they think that these people are going to take them back there.
You know why? Because the rule, not the rule. Yeah, it is. Well, it was the rule. Everyone's got to understand, we come from a racist country. We are a racist country. Our history is filled with racism.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is, it's not just racism against minorities. It's also racism against itself. You know, the reason that white people were voting for people who were against, you know, slave, or who were running for slavery or running for this or running for that. You got to remember is they still ran a racist thing against white people, and it's going to sound bad, but it's true. Is, yeah, you're white and you're poor, and we're still going to fuck you over as much as these black people, but at least you're not, you know, black yourself. So you got that going for you.
Geez, speaking of racists, Donna Brazil just recently made a tweet here that's been shared with me. So MSNBC tweeted out that the Democrats voted to strip superdelegates from the first round of picking candidates to run as Democrats.
Uh-huh.
And so everyone's rejoicing over that because originally it was automatic superdelegates were basically picking, okay, we've already decided this, but we're going to have a formal vote anyway. And no matter what happens, because all of us are here, this is who you're going to have as a candidate. That's how Hillary was able to pretty much be the guaranteed nominee since like 2014 for the 2016 cycle.
Uh-huh.
And so MSNBC is rejoicing this thing. And Donna Brazil comes out with a quoted tweet that says Democrats voted to remove automatic delegates from the first round of voting, but we still have seats at the table. We are still in the room and very much capable of setting the menu. #power rising. What she's saying there is that even though we did this, even though we gave you this little breadcrumb of the Bernie delegates asking for shit from the platform for the DNC,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter because the people that are presented for you to be able to pick from are still coming from the superdelegate picks.
Yes.
So it's kind of like saying you get the choice of whatever you want to drink. Here are the 3 bottles, one with water, one with Pepsi, and one with Coca-Cola, that you get your freedom of choice to pick from, and you have no other choices. Go.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And why people are still falling for this shit, I don't understand.
That's why we have to run new people, and they have to run independent, and they have to get away from this fucking garbage.
No, I say we take. I say we come up with a program, or we come up with our own little poll that's just simply 3 questions. Question 1, are you awake? Question 2, do you understand the Republicans are fucking you just as hard as the Democrats are fucking you? And question 3 was, are you tired of it, and are you willing to do something about it? And if you answer however you answer that, hey, guess what? We got a third party. And third party is guaranteed to be able to go on all the ballots. How's that sound?
I was listening to somebody getting interviewed on Redacted Tonight, and he was the editor for Black Agenda Report. His name's escaping me, but I love that show, and also their publication. And he was saying that what he really thinks the Green Party needs to do in order to get more relevancy in the United States is to start requiring membership dues. And it's just exactly what you're saying, is that you have to play the game better in order to beat them at the game. Sure. You can't circumvent it. And right now, Green Party, I don't believe they have at the national level maybe membership dues, or maybe it's the local level. I'm not quite sure how that works. But if they were to introduce that, it would allow them to raise enough money to be able to smack people in the face the way that the DNC does all the time. They'd even have the clout to say stuff that Donna Brazil is saying here, or to, you know what I'm saying? So I think you're spot on, Jesse. I think you're tapping into something that people all kind of already know, but we're all fucking ignoring it because we want something easier to come along, and it's not going to. We have to play this game. We have to play it by their rules, but we have to be better at it than they are. And I think we collectively have the mindset to be able to accomplish that quite easily. We just have to get up off our fucking asses and do something.
People gotta just come to terms with the fact. Just take a minute and come to terms with this, and take this as an indisputable proof of truth, okay? Water is wet, the sky is blue, you are being fucked over, okay? Come with those terms.
That's a great rhyme.
Okay, now that being said, think of it as a poker game, if you will. But here's the deal. The poker game is winner, dealer's choice, right? The last person to win the pot gets to name the game. But the problem is you got to understand that they're going to rig that game because they want to continue to be dealer's choice.
I'd say it's safe to say, Jesse, that you're getting fucked and you don't even know it.
You're getting fucked and you don't even know it.
Exactly. I mean, you're getting fucked and you don't even know it because no one has really wanted to pay attention to it. We right now have access to as much information at your fingertips that we've ever had in the history of mankind. And yet, what are people doing with it? They're arguing over Alex Jones getting banned from Twitter. I don't give a fuck. The guy's a fucking idiot. The guy's a fucking moron. And as far as First Amendment goes, they didn't slap duct tape over his mouth in a public square. They just said, we don't like you anymore and you can't play with our ball.
And it just happens to be the ball that we all have our hand attached to.
But that's only because we bought the bullshit lie about Facebook.
Exactly, thinking it can be the only thing.
Right. If we don't like Facebook, stop using Facebook, come up with your own. If you come up with enough of it, people will probably jump on it. Now, but there's the capitalist rule that says Facebook can then turn around. I'm going to start my own. If Facebook backed up a fucking dump truck filled with cash at my front door and just started bringing those trucks in, they've got the money to do it. How many dump trucks filled with $100 bills do you think it's going to take before I sell them my fucking platform?
Well, I also ran an idea by when I was interviewing Brian Ramirez in the last episode. It was in his lightning round, and the question was if Facebook were to decide to become a profit-sharing company, that all of the users then become true owners of the company and get to profit from it selling ads. Would you join into that? Would you opt in and become someone who makes money off of ads that get sent to other people who are also on Facebook? Profiting off each other, I guess, in that sense. Would that feel better to you? But if you had a say in what direction Facebook took itself?
No. It doesn't matter because to me, here's the other question that people need to ask themselves. What is your price? Chris, how many dump trucks of money would it take for me to back into your garage or in your yard and dump? And it could be something stupid as even getting you to admit that red is blue and blue is purple.
You know, I would love to be able to say none, but I can safely say if the amount of money added up to about $1 billion, I'll do almost anything.
Okay. So you have but so you have
that's
a price.
Probably my price. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's not my price. That's kind of like would you jump in front of a car to save that kid? You never know until you're in the moment, right?
If it's my kid, not a problem. But if it's your kid, no.
Good call.
But it goes back to these are all arguments that I've had with myself for the last 25, 30 fucking years. Yeah. Do I have a price? Yes, I have a price. Do I have a scenario where I can take another person's life? Yeah, you fucking bet I do. But the big difference is I know where those limits are. And if I don't want those limits crossed, I don't put myself in a situation to have those limits crossed.
I don't think people spend enough time every day thinking about these kind of stuff.
Well, okay, and that's the thing. And then I've had this conversation with people that I work with. Would you kill someone else, period? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. Now, would you kill someone if they raped your girlfriend?
I'd rip their nuts off, but I would not let them die.
Okay. Would you, if they took her life?
I would make sure that their life is a life of suffering until I don't know. Honestly, I think my initial response would be that I want to harm them and make them feel terrible. Right. And at the end of the day, I would probably come to my senses and realize that that's not how the world needs to be.
No, it's not how the world needs to be, but yeah, exactly. So what we got to do is we got to let people know, look, I have a price. And I hope to God it's never reached, but I'm going to tell you, it's the reverse of it's the reverse Christian attitude. Yes, I'm a sinner. Yes, I'm corrupt. Yes, I like the way titties shake on other women that aren't my wife, but that doesn't mean that I'm a bad person and can't do my job. And that's what people need to realize. We need to start companies, for-profit companies owned by the people, not corporations, not the government. let's crowdsource companies for everything. We need someone to run this company. Here's what we expect. Anyone can buy our bandwidth. Anyone can say whatever they want. Anyone can do whatever they want under the following circumstances. If you knowingly and willfully post videos showing criminal activity, we will report that to the police on the last known IP address of said video being posted on our service. Problem solved. Yeah. You don't like what someone says? Don't listen. You want to call them
mass cooperatives.
Exactly, mass cooperatives.
Yeah. Right.
And that is how we take back everything. Everything. You don't like the insurance company that's being run in California because they never pay out? Well, let's co-op and crowdsource a fucking insurance company for everybody else. But here's the deal. We will pay out on this accident, that, this, and not that. And this is written in law before any money is ever fucking dealt in to become that company. Whether it's internet service provider, our own version of Facebook, our own version of Twitter, our own version of everything. That is publicly owned. Now, that being said, if it's publicly owned, why then can you not apply for federal grant money to get this startup shit going? Because it's not for one person to make a profit off of, right? Any profits that are made go back into the company to buy more bandwidth, to buy this. Now, we will have people that work for us, and we agree that we're going to pay them this amount of money and this amount of money here, and our techs are going to make X amount of money, but we have to do everything within the United States or everything within this community where it's going to be based. But it's publicly owned.
I really like this idea, Jesse. And I encourage everybody out there to go and do a little bit of research and try to find. I have a pretty good feeling that there are a couple of different companies already on top of this. Attempting. Well, one group is attempting to make an alternate internet that everyone can shift over to. Another one, that there is a company that has existed for a little bit, and people are starting to make more popular. It's a replacement for Twitter. It is its own thing, but I mean, if you look at it, it definitely is a play on Twitter. It's called Mastodon, Mastodon. And a lot of people on Twitter are switching over to that because they have a federated timeline and they show everything chronologically, and they don't have algorithms that decide for you what's going to show up on your screen based on your likes and things. And you know what? This idea of having a mass cooperative owning Facebook or even owning the internet, I tell you what, if it doesn't exist, we got to make it. And if it does,
I say we jump on it. We know some smart fuckers like Cori. Cori's a smart little fucker. I mean, I'm sure we can come up with something. But like I said, it's if we can co-op it, crowdsource it, whatever fucking word you want to use. Me alone, I don't got the money to do this. You alone ain't got the money to do this.
But you're allowed.
Right, but us 10,000 broke motherfuckers all kicking in as much money as they can, we're going to have the money to do it then. And those 10,000 will get another 10,000. And it's vampirism, right? Well, let's start using that shit for good instead of the corporate bullshit that only Mark Zuckerberg is going to be able to buy his third private fucking island because he sold ads on Facebook. We can decide not to do ads, or we can decide to run ads, or we can decide, no, you want to run an ad on our system? We don't agree with that because you're a corporate shill. Go fuck yourself. We'll make it more expensive than the Super Bowl ads to run an ad on our platform. But at least then people are going to know that they're not going to be insinuated or constantly have to see an ad for erectile dysfunction and an ad for GMC truck and an ad for this. And no, our ads, we're ad free because we pay for everything. But if we throw an ad out there based on what we do, pay attention to that ad, because it might be an ad instead of, hey, we got the internet now. Hey, we've got a clone of Facebook or a clone of Twitter or a clone of this. But yeah, guess what? We also are going to start our own little fucking internet company, but we're going to make cell phones. Here's the ad for that cell phone. Tell us what you think.
And with that, we're going to have to go ahead and call it quits for today, Mr. Chaney. But as always, I really appreciate your insight. And everybody out there, I tell you what, everything he's saying, stone cold truth. We got to get on it. All right. Also, I want to say that we have a progressiverampage.com.
Yay!
We have a website. I'm currently working on building it. And very soon there will be a space where you can go and join Jesse Chaney and take a shit on him. You can say whatever you want. We might change the name of that. Currently, it's called Take a Shit on Jesse Chaney. If you'd like to come and see the progress that the website is making, I don't have an under construction thing up. I just simply made it live And so as I shift it around, it's going to look a little bit weird, so bear with me. But I would say in about a week or a week and a half, you'll be able to find every single one of our episodes directly on our website, as well as iTunes and on YouTube, especially the extra stuff that we throw on YouTube as well. So everybody out there, I bid you adieu. Mr. Chaney, it's been a pleasure.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll talk to you soon. And I cannot wait to get on this website because it's going to be schoolyard rules.
Yeah, donate to Patreon. We'll start shoveling that money into this idea.
There you go. Peace. Seen enough screaming and yelling and fighting, and I've seen enough of that.
Yeah.
What Josh needs to do is he needs to flip that script. So you can only have one extreme, right, all the time. And until that point, until it starts to lose its effect. Just like if I sit here and said fuck consistently through this entire, like literally every sentence when we do this next podcast, I use the word fuck every sentence. Yeah. It's going to lose its meaning, and you're just going to be like, yeah, okay, whatever.
It's like when people tell you they love everything and they love all their friends and love, and then when you say I love you, it has nothing.
Yeah, it has no meaning
at all. Yeah.
Now, but here's the thing: is this is what I'm trying to get across is before it was calm, metered out conversation. I understand that you're from party A and I'm from party B, but you know what? Let's sit down like civilized people and have a conversation. That's been the whole reaction for politics my entire life. Until someone stood up and said, no, you're a fucking liar. You're not going to fuck you. You don't fucking listen and blah, blah, blah. That was a different stimulus. It suddenly got you to perk up and listen to this person.
Yeah.
But now everyone's doing that. So he needs to flip that script and go back and give the opposite of what everyone else is doing. Everyone else is standing there waving the flag and screaming and yelling, whether it's the white power, whether it's the Ben Shapiro people, whether it's, Black Lives Matter. They're all screaming and yelling to try to get someone to listen to them when no one's going to listen to them now because everyone screams and yells. Everyone screams and yells. Everyone screams and yells. Everyone screams and yells. Everyone screams.
I'm not sure if I have to edit one of those out for legal reasons, but that's why I have my buddy Chris.